Hello, welcome to lesson 6a. And in this lesson, we are going to learning grammar some passive for all tenses. In vocabulary, we are going to talk about movies. And in pronunciation, we will practice some sentence stress. Okay? So let's get started. Reading. Look at the photos with the article. Do they remind you of any movies or TV series that you have seen? Which ones? So take a look here at the pictures. Which movies do they make you think of? Do they remind you of? Okay. Now, let's continue here. Now read this article and complete it with a past participle from the list. Now, you are going to read these articles here, okay, about some famous places where movies were shot. You are going to complete with one of these past participle verbs. Let's pause the video and do it. Great. Let's then check your answers. These are the verbs in the places where you should complete with, okay? Great. We have here also the famous movies where these places were used to shoot the movies, okay? Great. Fantastic. So, as you finish this activity, move on to activity C on page 55. You will read this article once again, and this time you're going to answer questions with each of the place's initials, okay? So pause the video and do it. Great, let's check your answers. Here they are. Great. Wonderful. Now, in letter D, have you seen any of the movies or TV series mentioned? Which one of the three places would you most like to visit and why? Great. Let's move on to grammar and learn more about this passive for all the tenses. So you're going to read Highclere Castle text again. You will underline an example of the present passive, the past passive, the present perfect passive, the past perfect passive, and a passive infinitive. How do you form the passive? What part of the passive changes when you want to change the tense? Pause the video and answer. Great, let's check your answers. So here, and now for the last question here. Okay, let's move together to grammar, page 142, and let's listen to some examples. You will listen and repeat them.
3.31. 1. A lot of movies are shot on location.
Our car is being repaired today.
Andy's bike has been stolen.
The director died when the movie was being made.
You'll be picked up at the airport by one of our staff.
This bill has to be paid tomorrow.
2. Batman Begins was directed by Christopher Nolan.
Okay, fantastic. So let's learn about the passive. Nessa lição, nós vamos trabalhar então a voz passiva para todos os tempos verbais. Aqui, a voz passiva nós geralmente usamos quando não é importante mencionar, né? Ou quando não é mencionado a pessoa que fez, né? Ou seja, quando a coisa mais importante é a ação em si e não quem a fez. Example, Andy's bike has been stolen. Somebody has stolen Andy's bike. We don't know who. Ok? Então, se você quiser dizer, né, mencionar quem fez a ação, ainda em uma frase, né, na passiva, você deve usar by. Então, by foi feito por tal pessoa, né? Então, aqui, por exemplo, nós frequentemente, né, podemos dizer de duas formas, tanto na voz ativa como na voz passiva. Vamos comparar. Batman Begins was directed by Christopher Nolan. Então aqui o foco é especialmente no filme Batman Begins, né, que foi dirigido por Christopher Nolan. Quando a gente quer dar um foco na pessoa que dirigiu, Christopher Nolan directed Batman Begins in 2005. Então nós usamos voz ativa, ok? As formas negativas e perguntas, elas são feitas da mesma forma, né, que a voz ativa. Some movies are shot on location. Is your car being repaired today? Então, a ordem é normal, ok? E nós também frequentemente usamos a voz passiva para falar sobre processos, por exemplo, processos científicos, né? E em uma escrita mais formal, especialmente como nas reportagens de jornais. Tá? É bem comum também. Then the water is heated to 100 degrees. Many buildings in the city have been damaged by the earthquake. Okay, that's great. Perfeito. Então aqui, lembrando que a estrutura, né, da voz passiva, quando a gente for usar, é geralmente, então, aqui o verbo to be, e o verbo to be vai estar no seu tempo verbal adequado à sua frase, tá? Juntamente com um past participle de um verbo, que é aquela terceira coluna de verbos, né, que nós aprendemos lá dos verbos tanto irregulares como regulares, ok? Fantastic! Now, let's do some exercises, okay? Activity A, circle the correct form, active or passive. For example, the college built or was built in the 18th century. So pause the video and answer. Great, let's check your answers. These are the answers for activity A. Great. Now, in activity B, rewrite the sentences with the passive. Only use by if necessary. Pause the video and do it. Let's then check your answers. These are the answers for activity B. Fantastic. Okay, so let's go back to page 55. Now we have some pronunciation practice with some sentence stress. So now you are going to listen and you are going to write the stressed words in the large pink rectangles. These words in the pink rectangles, they are the stressed words in each of these 6 sentences, okay? So first of all, let's only listen and write these words from the pink rectangles. Let's go.
3.32. 1,
The movie is based on a famous book.
2,
The house was built in the 16th century.
3,
The castle has been visited by thousands of tourists.
4,
The tower was designed by a famous architect.
5,
Where is it being filmed?
6,
Who was it written by?
Great. Listen again if necessary. Okay. Now for the second part, look at the stressed words and try to remember what the other unstressed words are. And then listen again to check and write them in. Okay, you finished? Let's now check your answers. So these are the words you should have written in the pink rectangles. Nice. And these are the sentences in full with their stressed words. Now, listen once again, pause and try to copy the rhythm, the stress. Practice as much as you can. Fantastic. Let's move on to next page then, page 56. Now, our focus would be some vocab about movies. So look at some extracts from the texts in one. What do you think the highlighted phrases mean? So pause the video and read these sentences. Focus on the meaning of the highlighted words. Okay, so to be set in, to be based on, to be shot. Let's go to page 159 to the bank, to the vocabulary bank, and let's learn more about movies. Let's go. So for this first part of the activity, you have kinds of movies. We have some pictures of some kinds of movies, and you should match them to the kind of movies we have written here. For example, in picture number 1, this corresponds to a drama movie. So now, on your PDF or in your book, you are going to complete, okay? Pause the video and do it. Excellent. Let's check your answers now.
3.33. Movies. Kinds of movies. 5,
An action movie.
3,
An animated movie.
12,
A comedy.
1,
A drama.
11,
A historical movie.
6,
A horror movie.
2,
A musical.
10,
A romantic comedy.
9,
A science fiction movie.
7,
A thriller.
4,
A war movie.
8,
A western.
Great. So this is the order, okay? And for your information, sometimes you can also use rom-com as an abbreviation to romantic comedy, okay? Okay, so for example, the proposal is my favorite rom-com. Rom-com stands for romantic comedy. And likewise, you can also use abbreviations for sci-fi. I love sci-fi movies. Scientific fiction. It's the abbreviation for that, okay? Great. So now let's keep going. In activity C now, think of a famous movie for each kind we have above. D. What kind of movies is often funny, violent, exciting, scary, moving? Moving. If a film or a movie is moving, it means it makes you feel very emotional. Okay? Great. Great. Let's then check some possible answers for that. So these are some examples. Okay. Great. E, what kind of movies do you or don't you like and why? All right, so you probably have heard about movie and film. So, what is the difference if there is any? Actually, it's just that movie is more used for Americans and film is more common in the British English, but they mean the same thing, okay? And now we're moving on to activity 2, people and things related to movies. A. Match the nouns and definitions. Let's go. Do it. Great. Let's now check your answers.
3.34 People and things. 1,
Cast.
2,
Star.
3,
Soundtrack.
4,
Plot.
5,
Scene.
6,
Audience.
7,
Sequel.
8,
Special effects.
9,
Script.
10,
Extra.
11,
Subtitles.
12.
Review.
Great. So this is the order. Okay, listen again and practice the pronunciation for each of these words. Great. Now, activity 3, verbs and phrases. You will now match the sentences 1 through 6 with sentences A through E according to their meanings. Pause the video and do it. Okay, let's now check your answers. These are the answers. Let's listen.
3.35 Verbs and phrases. 1, B. It was directed by Tate Taylor. He was the director. 2, D.
It was dubbed into other languages. The voices of foreign actors were used.
3, C. Viola Davis played the part of Abilene Clark. This was her role in the movie. 4, A.
The movie is set in Mississippi in the U.S. during the 1960s. It was situated in that place at that time.
5, E. It is based on the novel of the same name by Catherine Stockett. It was an adaptation of the book. 6, F.
It was shot on location in Greenwood, Mississippi. It was filmed in the real place, not in a studio.
Okay, so if there is any question about the meaning of these verbs, please check on a dictionary lookup, okay? The words there. Here, when we are saying here, be on, it's a very common expression that we can use here too. Okay? Beyond means being shown on TV. So, for example, what's on TV tonight? O que está passando na televisão hoje? What's on the movies? Né? O que está passando no cinema? We use this question a lot, okay? Great. Now, we finished this part of the vocabulary. Now you are going to go back to page 56. And before you do it, test your memory. Check if you can remember, okay, these words and expressions. Fantastic. Now, this class will be performed in our online class, but you can read about these questions here and write about it, or you can talk about it, like recording your voice, okay? No problem. Great. Now, moving on, we have some speaking and listening. Look at the images from some famous movies. What kind of movies are they? Have you seen any of them? What are they about? What do you think they have in common? So these are the pictures of the movies. Do you know them? Let's check your answers here then. These are the verbs. And what do all of them have in common? Yes, they were all recorded by the same director. Okay, and this is the director. Do you know who he is? So let's see. Now look at the photos of Steven Spielberg. Yes, if you said Steven Spielberg, you're right. And Dagmar Wolkowicz, who worked as an interpreter on one of his movies. In pairs, answer the questions. So you will pause the video now and answer these questions. Great. Great. So now we are going to listen to this first part of an interview with Dagmara, and then you are going to check your answers to activity B 1 and 2. Let's go.
3.36.
So tell me, how did you get involved in the movie, Dagmara?
Well, as you probably know, Schindler's List was shot in Krakow, in Poland, which is where I live. I was a university student at the time, studying English. And the film company set up their production office here 3 months before they started shooting the film, and I got a job there as a production assistant, preparing and translating documents and the script.
But how did you get the job as Steven Spielberg's interpreter?
Well, it was a complete coincidence. Just before the shooting started, there was a big party in one of the hotels in Krakow for all the actors and the film crew, and I was invited too. When I arrived at the party, the Polish producer of the film came up to me and said, "The woman who was going to interpret for Steven Spielberg can't come, so we need you to interpret his opening speech."
How did you feel about that?
I couldn't believe it. I was just a student. I had no experience of interpreting, and now I was going to speak in front of hundreds of people. I was so nervous that I drank a couple of glasses of champagne to give myself courage. I must have done a pretty good job, though, because soon afterwards, Spielberg came up to me to say thank you, and then he said, "I'd like you to be my interpreter for the whole film." I was so stunned, I had to pinch myself to believe that this was happening to me.
All right. She got excited. Remember, here in the listening, we have the listening section in your book where you can follow the script together, okay? With the listening in case you want to make sure you could understand it correctly. Okay, so here, for example, on page 127, okay, you have this interview with Dagmar that you can follow the script here and listen to the audio together so you can understand it better. Okay? Great. Now, let's go to check your answers for C. These are the answers. Okay. Now, in letter D, you will listen. Okay, so now you will listen again, and this time you're going to mark a true or false for these questions here. Okay, let's then check your answers. Great. Okay, now moving on to next activity E. Now you listen to the second part of the interview, and now you will check your answers to questions B, 3, and 4. Let's go.
3.37.
So, what exactly did you have to do?
I had to go to the film set every day and translate Spielberg's instructions to the Polish actors and also to the extras. I had to make them understand what he wanted them to do. It was really exciting, and I often felt as if I was a director myself.
So, was it a difficult job?
Sometimes it was really hard. The worst thing was when we had to shoot a scene again and again because Spielberg thought it wasn't exactly right. Some scenes were repeated as many as 16 times, and then sometimes I would think that maybe it was my fault, that I hadn't translated properly what he wanted, so I'd get really nervous. I remember one scene with lots of actors in it, which we just couldn't get right, and Spielberg started shouting at me because he was stressed. Eventually, we got it right, and then he apologised, and I cried a little because I was also very stressed. And after that, it was all right again.
So, was Spielberg difficult to work with?
Not at all. I mean, he was very demanding. I had to do my best every day, but he was really nice to me. I felt he treated me like a daughter. For instance, he was always making sure that I wasn't cold. It was freezing on the set most of the time. And he would make sure that I had a warm coat and gloves and things.
Did you ever get to be an extra?
Yes, twice. I was going to be in 2 party scenes, and I got to wear beautiful long dresses and high heels. Unfortunately, one scene didn't make it to the final cut of the film, and before we started shooting the other one, I tripped walking down some stairs and twisted my ankle really badly. I was in so much pain that I couldn't take part in the filming. And that was the end of my acting career. I still have the photos of me looking like a girl from the 40s, though.
Have you ever worked with Spielberg again?
Yes. A year later, he invited me to interpret for him again, this time during the premiere of Schindler's List in Poland, which was broadcast live on national television. Before that, he had also asked me to come to work as a production assistant on his next movie in Hollywood. I was very tempted and thought really hard about it, but I hadn't finished my studies yet, and all my family and friends were in Poland, so in the end, I decided not to go.
Do you regret it?
Not at all. I had my moment, and it was unforgettable, but that was it.
Okay, so now listen again if necessary. Afterwards, you can go back to the listening script and check the scripts for this audio, okay? Let's check your answers. So, 3 and 4, the answers to be 3 and 4. Great. Now, in letter F, you will listen again and make notes under the headings below. Example, what she had to do during the movie. So, Go to the movie set every day, translate Spielberg's instructions. Okay, take notes on each topic. Pause the video and do it again. Great, let's check your answers. These are the answers. Okay, great. Jean, do you have liked to have done Dagmara's job? Do you think she made the right decision in the end? Yes or no? Okay. And as our last activity, we have this writing. You are going to learn how to write a movie review. Let's go. So, this is page 117, a movie review. For this activity here, you are going to read this movie review and complete it with the words in this list. Pause the video and do it. Okay, let's check your answers. Great. In letter B, you will read the review again and then number the paragraphs in order 1 through 4. Pause the video and do it. Okay, let's check your answers. In letter D, have you seen The Godfather? If yes, do you agree with the review? If no, does the review make you want to see it? We have here some useful language you can use to describe a movie, and make sure you use it when you write down your review, okay? It was directed or written by, it is set in, it is based on the book, it's about, it starts. In the end, my favorite scene is I strongly recommend the movie because, so make sure you use this useful language in your review, okay? So now, write your movie review about a movie you would recommend people to buy on DVD or see at the movie theater. So you're planning what you're going to write about in the 4 paragraphs we have in activity B, okay? And you can use the useful language and vocabulary bank on page 159 to help you. Check it, check the mistakes, and don't forget to send me to check it out for you, okay? Great. So that's it. This is the end of lesson 6A. Now I'm going to play the audio for the workbook, the listening activity, so you can have it to do your exercises, okay?
File 6A. Listening.
Hello, and welcome to the TV and movie walking tour of Central Park in New York City. My name's Stacy Clinton, and I'm going to be your guide today. I hope you are all wearing comfortable shoes because the tour lasts for 2 hours. We'll end at Columbus Circle at around 2 o'clock. We're going to start at Gapstow Bridge, a stone bridge originally built in 1874. From the bridge, you have an amazing view of the Plaza Hotel. Does anyone know which movies the Plaza Hotel has been featured in? No? Well, you can see this famous hotel in The Great Gatsby and Almost Famous, just to name 2. So that's where we're going to go first. Then we're going to go to the Woolman Skating Rink, one of 2 rinks in the park. This skating rink was opened to the public in 1858, well over 150 years ago. You might recognize the rink from the movies Home Alone 2 and Love Story. After the rink, we'll walk to one of the most well-known attractions in Central Park, the Carousel. This carousel has 57 colorful wooden horses for children and adults to ride on, and it's only $3 a ride. The original carousel was built in 1871. This one isn't the original, but it is beautiful. Maybe that's why director Mel Brooks chose to include it in his movie, The Producers. As we walk toward the middle of the park, we'll pass by the Promenade and Bethesda Fountain, where movies such as The Avengers, Breakfast at Tiffany's, and Enchanted shot scenes. Farther north, we'll take a look at the largest lake in Central Park, and we'll visit the Boathouse Restaurant, which was featured in the movie When Harry Met Sally. Next, we'll visit the Bow Bridge, a graceful cast-iron bridge, which is considered one of the most romantic spots in New York City. Movie directors must agree because the bridge has been featured in Spider-Man 3, on the TV show Glee, and in one of the greatest love stories of all time, The Way We Were. At this point, we'll visit Strawberry Fields, an area of the park dedicated to John Lennon and his music. We'll look at the beautiful memorial mosaic with the word Imagine in the middle, designed to honor Lennon's memory. Of course, this area of the park was also used for a scene in the movie Little Manhattan. Finally, we'll walk to the sheep meadow. Don't worry, there haven't been any sheep in this meadow since 1934. However, we will see people sunbathing or relaxing in this 15-acre open area. This location was used in scenes for Wall Street and The Fisher King. As we walk to our final destination, Columbus Circle, we'll pass by Tavern on the Green, once a famous restaurant in New York City, and also used as a location for the popular movie Ghostbusters. And finally, we'll end up at Columbus Circle, where scenes for Taxi Driver and Borat were shot. Okay, so let's get going and head to our first stop, Gapstow Bridge.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you for watching. See you next video. Bye bye.